Hello, my witchy friends. It's Figbury Witch ASMR, and happy summer. Today I'm going to share with you some of the wonderful rituals and witchy traditions that I practice in this sweet spot between litha and lughnasadh. So come with me on a little walk, spot some groundhogs, learn my recipe for summertime sun tea with all sorts of foraged herbs and flowers from my garden. And most of all, take a deep breath and relax with me. Now, if you're new here, please join the coven and subscribe. And I'd encourage you to check out Sonde Flor, who has provided me with this beautiful linen dress. I love Sonde Flor. I own like 8 dresses by them already. They were kind enough to send me this rosemary green flutter sleeved dress, which is actually from the Rachel Maxey collection, a fellow YouTuber. And I've paired it with a Victorian hand belt from Le Feminoir. But for the month of July, they've given me a very generous discount code, Figbury15, for 15% off your purchase. So definitely go grab a piece. It's an amazing deal. As well, for the month of July, they're offering free color customization, which I'm currently doing. This is a rare opportunity to choose any of their styles and pick any color you'd like. I'm impartial to the tartans. They're my absolute favorite. They're my daily drivers. As well, if you'd like to support the channel directly, please use my affiliate link, as they give me a little bit of monetary compensation if you do that. It supports me directly, and it ensures that I get to show you these beautiful dresses and make more videos in the future. So, when you reach into the pocket of a Sonde Flor dress, you get a little poem. And I thought that this was the perfect note to begin a video on summertime and the feeling that you get with this Mary Oliver quote. The dream of my life is to lie down by a slow river and stare at the light in the trees, to learn something by being nothing. And that is absolutely what I strive to do at this time of year, to learn something from our surroundings, from nature. And so one of my favorite ways to do that is to get close to water, to stand like I'm standing here near a river or body of water that is clear enough to see through. In this case, I usually pack a little light lunch, some snacks, and spend some time reflecting, laying in repose, being one with myself, looking for fish and other creatures. And I try to cast any worries or doubts into the water as I'm walking by it or while I'm near it. One of my favorite things to do is to give you a little bit of ASMR. connection with a weeping willow. And here's one right here. This is where I was picnicking next to the river as part of this little ritual. I brought a light lunch, nothing too fancy, just a couple little snacks. And a weeping willow is so nice because it gives you the benefit of tremendous privacy, because those long boughs kind of curve around you. And I like to just settle in and be as still as I can. Of course, it helps when you're in a really comfortable dress. And reflect, think about who I was during the other Sabbats in the Wheel of the Year. Think about how summer can be so fast-paced and so hectic and, difficult to ground yourself in. But the best things about summer are the moments that aren't planned. And that's something I've been trying to remind myself of. The best moments are when you take the chance to slow down and just look into yourself, into the natural world. Have a slow moving, intentionally relaxed day. And that's what I've been doing. In fact, I went to a park on a recent trip, and there were these beautiful shepherd statues made of bushes, so they're kind of like topiary plant features. And I was thinking a lot about shepherding the self, as corny as that might sound, but leading yourself into this state of quietness. Very important stuff when things get busy. I recently completed a big milestone in my life. I got my doctorate. I finished my PhD. And so the summer has been about being slower and more intentional with my time, becoming a human again, and befriending groundhogs at every turn, like this one who kind of didn't want to be seen, but was very curious that I was stopping and paying attention. So after you've gone on your little walk, as I always recommend in these videos, start with a walk in nature. You might want to make my recipe for my delicious, delicious summer sun tea. What is sun tea? It's tea that you steep in the sun. It's as simple as that. And it's often made with fresh herbs. And so I've got this basket full of various herbs. And I make fresh batches of this every week. It's my absolute favorite ritual in the summer. But a little tea towel inside. It's one of those that has a hook on it. And I've gone into my garden, and it's still quite early for herbs where I am, so I'm a bit limited, but I think it's fun to do different versions of sun tea as things come into season. So I will be adding some things that I have dried into the tea, but these are our fresh ingredients. So what you'll need is a very basic mason jar. This one I just picked up at a dollar store, but you can get the fancier, Bernardin ones, or like a brand name one, but any jar will do. I'm making a small batch today, but you can certainly make larger batches if you'd like. And you can use a pitcher if you want. There's all sorts of different options. But today this is what I'm going to use. It just has a basic lid. Which snaps off quite loudly. And as we inspect the herbs and wash them, we'll put them in here. And my inspiration for this recipe actually came from a recent issue of Witchology magazine, which I cover in a recent video on the channel. But they have this recipe for litha sun tea. And look how gorgeous this picture is. Now, I don't have as many super colorful flowers as this, but I've got some that we can use. It is mostly mint. There's some violets, some rose petals. We'll do that as well. I have African marigold petals. We can do all sorts of things with those. But this recipe, which has this gorgeous design, it says you need a quart or half-gallon mason jar, an assortment of fresh herbs and blossoms, water, vanilla extract, and honey. Fill a quart or half-gallon sized mason jar about halfway with your favorite fresh herbs and flowers. This is how I've always done it usually. They suggest to chop them up, but I don't like doing that because sometimes the metal of the knife can interfere with the chlorophyll in the plants and give it a metallic flavor. You can add vanilla extract and drizzle some honey over the plants. I'll use beet rose infused honey that I make. Fill the jar with water, shake, and allow to steep in the sun for a few hours, absorbing all the wonderful solar energy of the solstice. Strain out the plant matter, chill it in the fridge, and enjoy. So it's extremely hot where I am, so you don't need to leave it in the sun for very long. But their suggestions are fun. I say I include violet blossoms, peppermint, strawberry mint, lemon balm, comfrey, blue violet leaves, valerian blossoms, beech rose petals, and a few dandelion blossoms that are still hanging around. And of course, you may also wish to consider the magical properties inherent in the herbs and flowers you add to your sun tea to concoct not only a delicious brew, but one infused with magic for the holiday and the days ahead. So, I think that this is a great way to practice your craft. You can ingest this tonic. Of course, make sure that you're using safe herbs and safe flowers before you put them in. It's always a good thing to do. And there's a cat in the background meowing. So let's go through what I have in my basket here. So first things first, I have some sage leaves, just a few. Pick them out of the basket. That I've taken off of my garden sage plant. I also grow white sage and mugwort. I'm currently growing a barrage plant, but that's not quite ready yet either. But here's some sage leaves. We're going to add those, and they're going to be a nice herbal addition to the sun tea. I think that it'll make the flavor super herbal, like super lovely and strong. So we have those. And make sure you wash everything as well. Like I will be putting these in my salad spinner to make sure that they get nice and clean. Then I also have some lavender. I don't have any of the flower just yet, but this is just the foliage, the greenery itself. This is super fragrant. And I'll give some tips for you on what you're supposed to do with the herbs as you add them into the jar. There's a crushing process. I really recommend using your hands to like bring out the oils and the scent and the flavor of these beautiful plants. But lavender is a nice addition. I like to infuse my spell work at this time of year, at every like equinox and solstice and Sabbath in the wheel of the year. I like to make sure that I put lavender in everything for that relaxed energy. From there, I picked some lavender. It's really lovely. The scent is beautiful and it just adds a gorgeous flavor to sun tea. Then I have violets, and you gotta use these pretty quickly because they do start to wilt after they've been plucked. But I've got a couple of them here. And these are edible. They're a really good source of vitamin A and vitamin C, so you'll catch me using them a lot. I was gonna make my violet cookies with like Earl Grey and lavender, but I'm out of flour right now, so I'm not going to be making those. But I will eventually. But there's the violets. They're very, very pretty. I usually grow orange ones, but I don't have orange ones. Okay, next I have a little bit of chamomile flower. The petals have started to fall off of this, so this is kind of the ideal time to throw it into an infusion. This is an excellent addition to your spell work, again with the calming properties, but it's like got this really sunshiny, lovely energy. So I've just clipped this off the top of my chamomile plant, and I'll be putting it in the sun tea. So chamomile grows really like long and leggy. And I always forget when I grow it. It's kind of an unruly plant. I also have a bit of thyme here. So these are lovely. You can put the whole sprigs in, and they're going to really complement some of the flavors. It's going to be a beautiful infusion. So super wonderful addition to cooking in general. I usually choose either rosemary or thyme. So that is the thyme. And then the last herb, I missed a violet. We have a white one here as well. Almost looks like a strawberry, like blossom. It's very pretty. And then, the mint. One of the most important flavors. Super lovely, super pretty. And you can like take all the leaves off, or you can just pop the whole thing in there. That's usually what I do, depending on how tall the leaves are that you took out. And I've grown spearmint, I've grown chocolate mint, you can grow strawberry mint. Strawberry mint is super nice for tea. Lemon verbena is a nice addition as well. But this is the mint that I have. So that is the bundle of herbs that I've got here for the tea. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and wash these and then show you what else you can add into the tea and give you more of a solid outline for a recipe. So I've given them a wash, and I'll just set my lovely little jar here down and start putting things in. So the first step that I usually do is I add the bigger things first and then fill around in the jar. So we'll start with the mint. And I've just washed this. We'll get rid of some of the kind of brownish leaves. And add bit by bit here. This one at the bottom. So we'll add this first. Nice healthy amount of mint. As our base. And as I'm doing this, I'm just setting my intentions. Intention is everything. I'm like, okay, with this mint, the solstice ahead will be filled with promise. Just making sure that I'm grounding myself in the creation of this tea, what I want to feel while I'm drinking it. You can see it's full of beautiful leaves. It's quite nice. The color is gorgeous. And again, make sure that you wash all the dirt off so that it's nice and clean. Okay, I'm going to add some calendula. I had a really hard time finding seeds for calendula this year, so this is some dried stuff from a while ago. But calendula is awesome. It's the best. It tastes really nice, and I like it for a little pop of color in there. So I'm adding this whole pinch bowl right in, and we'll give it a shake up so that it goes to the bottom. But when you add your bigger herbs first, you get kind of like a natural divider in there, and it's quite nice. Okay, now some lavender. And we'll just add it, just like the mint, right in there. Another thing I like to get if you really love a stronger flavor is rose water or orange blossom water. You can also get them in flavored syrups if that's your jam, or you can make your own violet syrup or flower kind of syrup. Now, we'll add some rose buds. Quite a few here. And kind of crush them up as we go. I like to take these guys off the little ends. I don't know why, just matter of preference. They come off really easily, and you can crush them up a lot easier. You could add, if you wanted, dried apple, peaches, fruit, depending on what's in season in your area. Just crunch these up. Like so. See, we get a lovely pink color from that, which I adore. Hibiscus is another really nice addition. If you have some, you usually have to buy them like in bulk, but yeah, really good. And here's our last one. Beautiful, beautiful colors. And then give those a little shake up. Really pretty. You can really see that yellow at the bottom. Okay, we'll add our chamomile before it gets like too wilted. Go right in there. Now with the violets, I usually just add the flowers, so we'll do that last. And grab some sage. Okay, so here's our sage leaves, very pretty. You can just tuck them in there. And our thyme. Because this is a smaller jar, it should be much faster than a bigger jar to steep. Just grab our violets. I like to put them like at the top. So, so pretty. Yellow and purple. Gorgeous. Violets are my absolute favorite flower. I do not have like a big enough plant yet, so I didn't want to absolutely devastate it and take all of its leaves. So we've got this. I want this to turn a bit more, but it doesn't want to. Okay, we have all of this. And it looks delicious. So I think that that's everything we're going to put in there. But the finishing touch, other than the water, is a little bit of honey. And you want to drizzle the honey over all of the flowers. So this is a spring / kind of summer honey. They change in color depending on what time of year. But this will add some nice sweetness into the tea. So I'll just drizzle that in there. And they suggest vanilla. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do the honey and then add water. I like adding tonic water. You can make cocktails with this, or just sparkling water, and it's the best ever. But it'll turn a really pretty color, super green. You can also add tea bags to this, like if you wanted to do a green tea or black tea infusion. It's always a really fun way to, use herbs from your garden, or you can even use herbs from the grocery store. It doesn't really matter. So I'm going to add some water. Adding some cold, fresh water to the jar. And this is key with sun tea. You want it to be nice cold water. It can be room temperature if you'd like, but I prefer cold. And then what you're going to do is you'll set it out in the sun. I don't usually do it for very long, like an hour, to get it start to infuse, and then put it in the fridge to cool it down, and then you can drink it pretty soon after. So let's pour it in. Just like so, making sure that the water hits all the herbs in there. And then you have to put the lid on to keep it nice and secure. So here's the lid. And I like to shake it up a little bit at this point. But look how pretty that is. It's absolutely gorgeous. I love it. So we'll give it a shake. Making sure to be gentle because you are working with a glass jar. And that is how I make sun tea. So thank you so much for joining me and watching this video. I hope that your summer season has been full of deep and meaningful rest, and that you've taken some time to take care of yourself, to tend to yourselves, and that you'll join me in spending some time in nature if you're able, and as well support my work by clicking the Sound of Flor link and using my discount code. So thank you so much to Sound of Flor,